This is Acura Part 2 because we couldn't cover everything about Acura. Acura is, obviously we talked about it in the last video. We have a lot. Don't put the goggles on. Don't you do it.
Welcome to Car Goggles, because we have to assume this may be your first time tuning in. I'm Juan, and this is Mark. We are Car Goggles, hence the goggles. Mark?
One.
So, as Mark was just saying, this is Acura Part 2.
Or Due.
So go back and see Acura Part 1 to know why we are starting Acura Part 2. And
well, here's what I wanted to talk about, because we talked about kind of where Acura was in the past.
Yes.
They had some awesome cars. Where are they now? They've got something called the ILX, which is a sedan. They've got something called the TLX, which is a sedan. They've got something called the RLX, which is a sedan. All of those are different flavors, and they're all kind of bleh. Especially the RLX. That's basically a huge Accord. And in other parts of the world, really, you're just gonna leave those? They get it. in other parts of the world, they call that the Legend, which
Correct.
is anything but.
Because they don't need the brand that you get from the American market has to have a luxury brand. That's why they call it Acura. But yes, overseas. Yeah. There is no Acura. It's just Honda, whatever the case may be.
But it's a stretched out version. I would actually take the new Accord. Listen to this. I would take the new Accord over the RLX,
which tells you how far.
Yeah.
The Acura brand has fallen, right? Because it shouldn't make any sense. You should, if you're in an Accord, which is a great car.
Yeah. Great car.
Your next step should be an Acura.
It's aspirational.
Whatever. Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And if it's not, then you're doing something wrong, Acura.
Yeah. If you want to charge $60,000, that's what that car is,
correct,
the RLX, it better be special. So what I like about Acura is that they are coming out with a twin turbocharged V6. They've got their 4 cylinders dialed in. They've got the 1.5 liter and the 2 liter turbocharged engines that they're borrowing from Honda, and they're increasing output for Acura for the new RDX, which is fantastic. And they're going
looks like a Buick.
But the styling is a lot better than the other cars.
It's better than the old, yes.
They redid the ILX, which is their small sedan. So they dropped the price by about $2,000 to $3,000 a car, and made it look a lot better. So that's a Band-Aid on the gaping wound that is Acura.
Yes.
And then the TLX is just absolutely nowhere. They have cheap leases on them. But, so 2020 is going to be a big year for Acura, for the future. So
you would hope.
Well, they have the new MDX. They're going to reveal the new RDX, or the Legend, I'm hoping they're going to call it. And then what else do they have? The new TLX.
Right. Which, if you're not, it's difficult to even figure out what these are anymore, right? Mm-hmm. You just don't, there's so many LXs that whatever the case, just go back and reinvent your car lines and just start fresh. It can't get any worse than it is now.
Yeah.
You know, what was that thing that they sold that was in between? That was kind of like a BMW X6. ZDX?
Oh, ZDX, yeah.
What's a ZDX? Do you remember the ZDX? Because it was just, they're just throwing things out there, right? And it's like, you got this great
That was a
brand.
cross tour.
Really?
That was just a rebadged cross tour.
Admittedly, I like the ZDX.
It was cool. It was cool. You see, that was Acura trying something different. And yeah, it doesn't always work, but
it's forgettable. Right. But yeah, at least they tried.
They tried.
And probably, if you had a real name associated with these things, maybe you get, a better result sales-wise, or, maybe, I don't know where they're suffering, but it's all bad with Acura right now. And like you said, they're coming out with new tech new techs and power plant-wise, and their styling is getting a little better. But it's just like, you got all these groups, right? You got this huge manufacturer. They've been making cars forever. You're going to tell me they can't get 5-6 people around a table and figure out a better game plan than what they got going on right now?
Oh, absolutely. Here's two things Acura needs to work on too. Well, we know they need to work on their engines, right? Their transmissions are actually pretty good. They have the new 9-speed transmission, which is actually pretty good. Just needs a little bit different mapping. But they need to work on NVH, noise, vibration, harshness. Their NVH is awful.
Right.
Just
For
awful.
a luxury brand.
Absolutely.
Right.
So you drive the new RDX. Great engine, really good transmission. The technology is okay. So they have a lot of things going for it. But when you drive the car, you hear everything on the road. You hear the tires hitting the pavement. You don't want that.
Right. Not when you're Acura, right? You
No.
expect that if you're in a Honda,
Yeah.
but you should not get that at the luxury level. If you're spending more money, you should get another level of, here, if it's a
Yeah.
performance vehicle, there's a certain amount of visceral, sound, feel, whatever you want out of that kind of car, but
Yeah.
not if it's the RLX top of the line sedan that's supposed to compete with the Lexuses of the world, Audis, BMWs, and Mercedes Benz. You're just out of you're out of your league there,
Yeah.
unless you can, and to
Yeah.
compete, maybe and I know that they price their cars lower,
They do.
but that kind of customer doesn't want that car. They want they want the top tier car. They want that, tier 1 flagship vehicle. And
Yep.
just because that's your tier 1, but you price it at 60 grand doesn't necessarily mean it's going to sell. Obviously, it hasn't been a big sales success.
No. I just think Acura, make your own path. Stop being Honda Plus.
Right.
Honda is going way up market. Great. They've got all the technology. Great. They've actually even got the output and the engines and everything. So how are you going to differentiate yourself from your own brand?
Right.
And how do
Raise your prices.
Right. Well, they actually have to keep cutting their prices.
Right.
Because they're not offering enough content.
Right, because they're in no man's land, right?
Yeah.
They haven't gone full premium.
Right.
And so by not going full premium, they're keeping their prices at a price point where they're not considered full premium. So if you're not
Yeah.
there, then why should anybody even spend the money to, a little more to buy an Acura? They could spend less and buy a Honda, which is technically a better car right now. It just doesn't have the badge, which people don't care about because your brand is lost.
It's funny. Back in the day, we were saying, why doesn't Acura come out with a V8? Lexus has got a V8, BMW, Mercedes, Audi, everybody's got a V8. Acura needs a V8. Well, now Acura's in a great position. Everybody's downsized their engines
To 6 cylinders.
to 6 cylinders. So what does Acura do? They don't have a 6-cylinder turbocharged engine like other people do. And I know that's coming out, but why are they always so late?
Right.
Why are they always so late to react?
Speaking of late, we're late. And so we're going to wrap up on Acura here. And so we've come up with a car goggles rating
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
And the car goggles rating system is going to be from 0 cars
Yeah. Yep.
to 10 cars.
Yep.
10 cars, of course, being the best. 0 being, might as well just pack up your manufacturing business and go make sewing machines. Right? So for Acura, and we're going to do a past, present, and future. For Acura, in the past, we're going to rate it
8.
an 8.
Yeah.
Present,
4.
future.
6.
So 846 is the score across the board, and that
Yep.
those are individual numbers, by the way. 8, 4, and 6 for past, present, future. That's our show for today. This is Car Goggles. Thank you for tuning in.
I'm
Juan.
Mark.